Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we kept going with the Viridian Void Crusade, and this time we're gonna keep going with that and start right here. Let's not start gambling on tweaking difficulty.
Biometric scanning of the area completed. Conclusion: the ruinous powers are active. The purge of the infestation is strongly recommended.
Okay, there's an info fragment here. So, since I last recorded, some things have definitely changed. First and foremost is the fact that there is a new season finally for consoles. We're on season 4, and I'll shift to making a tech adept once I finish this Void Crusade. I'd like to get it done. You know, I started it. It shouldn't realistically take that long. So yeah, that's kind of the plan going on here. I think at max it's like 21, 22 missions, and this is the 9th, or either 9th mission. So it's not going to take that long. Run 2 to 3 per episode. And if they're like this, they should go pretty fast. But yeah, interesting 40K news. There was an announcement for a new boarding action box set, which the leaks were correct. It is Vashdor and the Black Legion, at least that's what they're painted to be on the box. It's a unit of cultists, some obliterators, Vashdor, and I think a Venom Crawler going up against some Primaris Marines. I don't remember the exact units, other than it includes Azrael, who is, I believe, the chapter master of the Dark Angels. I might be wrong on that. I don't pay a ton of attention to the Dark Angels. But this does prove that the leak from before is correct. Things are going down, and even the lore for the set is said that it's supposed to be taking place on the Rock. So my guess is we're gonna see Lionel Johnson come back. Yo, riddle me this, Chaos Chosen. Why did you heal? Oh, that's cool. I hate those guys so much. But the boarding action set looks pretty cool. I'm excited, just because I'm already interested in Vashdor. I think he's a pretty cool character, just from what little we've seen of him. I'm definitely interested in where the story overall is going to go from here. Yeah, let's just start beelining it, because wiping out all the side areas isn't paying. Actually, I do have to clear this whole area because I need to find the info fragment terminal. Never mind then. I got all eager to just start blowing through this environment and then remembered I can't. Oh god, I just remembered Dark Tide. I haven't played that since it came out. It's unfortunate, but that game just really needs a lot. The devs sat there, they're like, oh, we're gonna hold off doing our seasonal content until we can make the game better. And I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, you had seasonal content? Were you planning a battle pass? Which wouldn't surprise me in the slightest at this point. I have actually gotten real tired of battle passes. And I get it, it's a way to kind of keep money flowing for a company while they're between games. But I know I've said it before, they need to just be things you buy and you just put XP into them. Simple as that. Don't do this FOMO crap. If I want to buy 6 seasons of battle passes and just spend a couple months just grinding after launch, let me. You still get your money, and I think it would actually keep players around a little longer, which would probably help the game with microtransactions realistically. But what do I know? Oh, I got bored, so I was looking up release dates for games. Because I have a schedule of stuff I want to play that when it comes out. And I sat there, I was like, okay. I'm heavily considering Rogue Trader. I'm probably going to get it because I've played Pathfinder Kingmaker, which Owlcat Studios made. I've watched a playthrough of Wrath of the Righteous. Been meaning to play that at some point. But they're both good. I like CRPGs. I cut my teeth on those back. Neverwinter Nights 2. And I absolutely loved it. And honestly, when it comes to like Owlcat's stuff, God, the Pathfinder ones, you could pick so many classes. It was stupid. And I loved it. That's what I expect, honestly, out of RPGs now, is that degree of, like, hey, you can pick just a shit ton of classes, and you can have fun playing any of them. Instead of the modern version where it's like, well, you don't have a skill tree, and you don't have a class. Here's just, like, a couple skill checks that we just shoehorned in so that we could fall into the RPG category. I understand for stuff like Fallout, but a lot of other RPGs, it's real disappointing because there is a lot they could do.
Chance of success increasing at a steady rate.
Yeah, so I was looking at other games. I looked at Rogue Trader. I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, when's that coming out? You know, I want to kind of schedule things correctly and keep a decent line of stuff for you guys and keep stuff I'm interested in. And I look, they're like, oh, no release date given. I'm like, okay, I already know this sucks because Space Marine 2 doesn't have a release date. Armored Core 6 doesn't have a release date. Rip Out doesn't have a release date. And I'm sitting here thinking, knowing my luck, it's gonna be like October and everything will come out within the same month. And I'm just gonna be sitting here going, well, I gotta figure stuff out. It's gonna suck. I had a friend who was all excited about Atomic Heart because Mick Gordon did the score apparently, which, if you don't know what happened with Mick Gordon, he got just treated like trash by the head guy at id, which is a shame because Mick does a really good job, and everything that happened boiled down to the people at id were not planning things out properly. I mean, one of the things was they wanted him to make scores for some of the levels when they didn't have the levels even planned. And he'd sit there and be like, hey, can I have some art to kind of get a feel for what this environment's gonna be? And they just eventually gave him stuff. It was just a series of bad things that I remember. it was a lot of mismanagement, and rather than owning up and being like, yeah, we screwed up, they're just like, no, it's your fault. We couldn't get you the information you needed because it's your fault. And I sat there, I remember reading the whole thing, and I was like, how? Like, one of the things is they sat there and said, oh, you can get the OST by Mick Gordon. And they set a release date. And Mick was like, hey, you didn't ask me about this? You just said I'm doing it? And they're just like, oh yeah, well, it's happening. Yeah, it was a bad thing, but my friend's all excited about Atomic Heart. I'm interested in it, but I'm also kind of worried because I don't know what direction the game's realistically going. Because I've seen stuff where people are like, no, it's not Bioshock. And I'm like, well, I kind of wanted it to be Bioshock because I like Bioshock. And a Russian version of Bioshock sounds pretty fun. And then it's a matter of like, is it free roam? Because that would be cool, but I also understand trying to make a linear story, and it's a lot of questions I have and not a lot of answers, so I've been hesitant on it. I was waiting for Rip Out because it's a kind of body horror mixed with like Dead Space, but not as horror-ish as a Dead Space game, roguelike. I'm like, yo, I like roguelike games. Those are fun. Anything that's random gen hooks me because I can at least have varying experiences. But originally the devs are like, yeah, it's gonna come out like January. January rolls around, or actually it was December. And they're like, we can't do January, so 2023. I was like, oh, you don't give release dates, please. People say it all the time, and I agree with them. I would rather not get a release date until a month before the game comes out. And realistically, you don't need to give a release date until then. Because the only thing you have to be concerned about is your special editions. Short of that, this isn't the 2000s. I've never been to a store in about 10 years and had a game actually sold out. The one time I couldn't get a game was because the people working the electronics counter, it was at Target, did not realize a game was supposed to come out, and then before I left, one of the other people ran up to me and was like, hey, actually we do have copies in the back, we forgot to put them out, want me to get one for you? And I was like, yeah, sure. And sadly enough, that was for the Avengers game, which also reminded me the Avengers game is gonna die. They made an announcement that the servers are getting shut down, and I can't even say I'm surprised. I talked to a friend of mine about it, because neither of us are fans of games as a service, just because it allows studios to just pull the plug and a game is dead for eternity. It's not like they let players rig up their own servers or anything like that. It's just game dead, go bye-bye. And so we were talking about that, and I had said the thing that sucks is all they had to do with that game was make it a brawler like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and it would have been fine. Because people found some unused code for, like, She-Hulk. And I sat there and said, no, they don't need She-Hulk. They didn't need 2 versions of Hawkeye. Because they had their, like, future expansion, which included Maestro, which is the Hulk, but he's old and has essentially killed everyone. He's like a warlord. I think he's like an alternate reality. But they had Maestro. And they're like, hey, here's both, God, what's his name? Regular Hawkeye, I can't remember the guy's name, but then also Kate Bishop Hawkeye. And I was like, wait, you released the same character twice in the same expansion? And I remember seeing the devs be like, no, they have different abilities. I'm like, you still made the same character. Just because their abilities are a little different, it's still Hawkeye. That isn't an improvement. But yeah, they had code for She-Hulk, and I was like, we didn't even need She-Hulk at this present moment. They needed to have released, like, Doctor Strange, or Captain Marvel. I'm trying to think who else. Just literally anyone else. Winter Soldier would have been a better option. Because then you can start kind of backtracking. Then you release like War Machine, you do Kate Bishop, you do She-Hulk. You do that as like a, hey, here's Series 2. As opposed to just, oh yeah, here's effectively reskins. I get show tie-ins and movie tie-ins. I don't really care. Bad decisions are bad decisions. And let's be real, those shows like She-Hulk were not getting people to buy copies of Crystal Dynamics' The Avengers. Wow. Alright, now we gotta go over to this bonus mission. Reduce damage from Chaos Cultists, increase damage to Chaos Cultists. Considering all I see is Chaos, yeah, this works.
Thousand worlds, 100,000 wars. There is no respite. There is nowhere to hide. Across the galaxy, there is only war.
Oh, this is just an exterminate. Yeah, this is gonna be easy. Or a purge. Yeah, now that I'm on this kick about the Avengers game, it was just really goofy how they did, like, battle passes per character for skins, but you could only progress it by doing like missions that were dailies and weeklies. That's the same stuff they pulled with Halo Infinite, and it's stupid. If I want to sit down and spend 12 hours on a Saturday playing video games and crank out a bunch of levels, let me. Maybe I'm busy the rest of the week. But they gotta use all the psychological manipulation to get you essentially on a routine or addicted, which, keep that in mind. When you're playing mobile games or free-to-play games, how often do they have you do dailies? Do they have login rewards? Are they tied to a week and then resetting, or is it monthly bigger rewards? Do they punish you for missing a day or not? Because all these things add up. It is all different types of mental manipulation to get you to play more, and to show you the cash shop and make you spend more. That's why I'm happy about Warframe. They're just like, hey, yeah, log in, and your number goes up and you get a thing every, like, 30 or 100 days or whatever, you get some bigger reward, but get it at your own pace. That is a game that respects my time and is essentially built around being like, hey, come back when you feel like it. There is no rush. Content will be here and more content will come. I appreciate that immensely. Because I have dealt with a lot of games that prey on players and essentially try to drive a degree of addiction. And it's very scummy. don't get that. Like, why am I getting hit with lightning from dead guys? Oh, so for PS Plus, I think December, they gave away Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which I love Mass Effect. I especially loved Mass Effect 1 because that was the last kind of old BioWare style game, and I really enjoyed old BioWare. I used to play Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2 a ton. So you can imagine my disappointment when the Old Republic came out and it was just World of Warcraft reskinned. But I've been playing that and I got a character through Mass Effect 1, 2, and I'm into 3. And I have a copy of Mass Effect 3 for the 360, never played it. Just because, one, I got it like dirt cheap. I didn't pay full price at launch for it and not play the game. That's insane. But I never played it because I had found out you needed to play online and I didn't have Xbox Live. And of course, it's a real tough sell back in the 360 PS3 days where online was free for PS3. It's actually what got me to buy a PS3 later on, but I ended up having to return it because I didn't have the money at the end of the day and ended up getting rid of it, which is a shame. But even then, at the time, the games I wanted to play were on their way out. MAG was kinda dead at the time, and Dust was just kind of starting up, but it was already in a rough state. Which is sad, because I loved Dust. Where does this lead me? Ooh, mystery spot. But yeah, getting into Mass Effect 3 now, I'm having a lot of fun. It's kind of like watching... This is a weird analogy, but it'll make sense when I explain it. It's kind of like watching Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, or watching, like, The Mandalorian, where there might be parts that are not that good, but the overall story beats are just... They're so good.
To fight.
They, like, watching The Rings of Power, I sat there and I was just like, oh my god, the story sucks, but then they'd have the music and some of the really good, like, shots of environments, even though it's all CG. But I'd look at them, I'm just like, damn, I love Lord of the Rings. Or watching different stuff for Star Wars. It's those, you have the moments where it all comes together and I'm just like, damn, I love Star Wars. The new stuff sucks a lot, but there's just that spirit deep down that it reminds me of the good old days. And I saw, like, one of the veterans of BioWare, guy's been there for like 19 years, left. And I'm just sitting here like, oh, that's not a good sign. Oh shoot, that's not good. And it never is. Because I've found a lot of these people end up leaving because creative freedoms get removed, or in a lot of cases these games get altered too heavily. Or you get something like Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda, where people get complacent. I remember, I think it was Anthem, they were scrambling and people were just like, don't worry, the BioWare magic will happen and it'll all come together. I'm like, no, do not rely on that. That is a very lackadaisical approach to things, and it is very, very risky. Yeah, getting stressed sucks, and it shouldn't happen. But do not rely on just like, oh, everything will work out in the end, don't worry. No. The only way you can guarantee something will work out is if you do it. Is if you make it work out in the end. But so that just... I miss old BioWare. They made good RPGs. And it feels like RPGs are kind of a dying art. Owlcat is the one studio I can think of that's still kind of doing the D&D-esque kind of RPG anymore. Everybody else just kind of left it and was like, yeah, we don't care anymore. Which is a shame considering now there's so much you can do. The world is your oyster. Tech is so much better. You can make bigger, deeper, more engrossing games. But instead everyone just makes glorified tech demos. Just reminds me of COD Ghosts and the big hype they had over the fish AI.
You serve the Emperor well, Inquisitor.
Ah, that was a good meme. The damn fish AI. Ooh. Yeah, let's quick dump our gear. And this... yeah, this one.
The enemy is here, preying on the weak and using craven tricks against the defenders of mankind. Perhaps we should find their leaders and give them a fair share of their own medicine.
Speaking of D&D reminded me of Wizards did a thing recently. They're walking back the OGL and putting a bunch of stuff under Creative Commons, which, if you don't know how Creative Commons works, it's a very, very open licensing. It makes a lot of 5e very accessible, but the problem is, there's a couple problems. First off, everybody's like, oh, we won! No. You did not win. We did not win. We stalled. Because all that does is it puts 5e stuff under Creative Commons. I think it'll be the old stuff too, but I'm not 100% sure. I just know for a fact 5e is under Creative Commons. The kicker is everything after. Whatever edition they release now, that's not going to be under Creative Commons. They're going to roll this incredibly draconian rule set back out for whatever edition comes next. And this was something I was talking to my brother about, and I had said, you know, it's funny how, and it dawned on me while I talked about it, but I said it's funny how all this kind of happened, like, we didn't have these problems back in 3.0, and 3.5. And I realized that's because there weren't a lot of third-party creators in 3.0 and 3.5. Wizards had to make all their books. yeah, eventually stuff like Green Ronin eventually came about, but at its inception, it was all wizards. And the thing that's funny is wizards had to put in a lot of effort back in the day to make all this stuff, playtest it, and get all that done. And they made a lot of money for it, comparatively. But now, the third-party market is huge, and Wizards got lazy. They got incredibly complacent, said, yeah, other people can make this stuff for our game, we don't care. But now they want the money. They want that proportional 3.035 money while having other people do the work for them. And now they have very few books and a lot of third-party competitors. And when that kind of dawned on me, I wasn't shocked. At the end of the day, I wasn't shocked because it's corporate. And they also laid off a bunch of people at Wizards. Hasbro just went through dropping people, which is really funny because they're also selling their movie division when their D&D movie isn't even out yet, but they're already trying to axe them. They're trying to pivot really hard into video games, which is really bad considering one of the studios that they have is what was 2K games, and not 2K like the guys who make NBA games, but 2K like 2K, Touque, and they're the guys who made, what was it? They made... Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. They made the new-ish version of Marvel, or not Marvel, D&D Dark Alliance, which, if you played the original Dark Alliance, you knew Dark Alliance 1 was a good game. This thing was a buggy mess that was so bad, like you could skip huge parts of the game. If you haven't watched the video, Angry Joe did a video on it, and he hits a lot of good points. The way it's set up, you just have to reach doors, whether it's literal or a proverbial door in the map, so you can just sprint through enemies. Your DPS, some characters have like no DPS, while others are just all damage. The game would crash and effectively reset characters or lose progress, and it was the telltale signs of not being tested. And it's just floored me when I saw it. And I don't even know if I assume they fixed the game, but at the end of the day, as much as I want to say give games a chance, launches are rough, there are certain things that you really are struggling to look over. Because, I mean, come on, that's... When your game... The structure of the missions is bad, that's something you should have looked at. That's something you notice. Admittedly, there is flaws to it, like, I'm a person who always wipes out enemies. I remember I was always the guy who got dragged along in Destiny for strikes, because the rest of my team would just sprint by everyone and just get to the next, like, checkpoint to drag me through, because I'd shoot my way through. I wanted the XP, I wanted the loot, I wanted the glimmer. That was my deal. But I also get people just being like, yo, we need to just burn through these, the rewards aren't good. I get it. And you should really test for that. Because if you want players to do that, that's one thing. If you don't, that's another. Also, that game just had a lot of flaws. But yeah. Wizards is pivoting to like video games, and I don't get the plan. I don't see the vision. I don't know what they're trying to do, but it does not look good in the long run. I think it's going to do even more damage than they've already done. And they've done a lot of damage. Alright, let's check this. Probably bad. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.